Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another wonderful tasting with the Virtual Tasting Society. I am Vadim Perlovsky, and today I am excited to introduce the very first Swedish single malt that we've ever done. I have made it a point with these virtual tastings to kind of visit the world and try whiskeys from as many places as make it. And High Coast, or it used to be known as Box, has been on that list for quite some time, and I'm excited to finally welcome them in. I know the group is excited to try them as well. Really fantastic samples in front of us. We have 6 expressions, but more importantly than that, we have the master blender for High Coast joining us as well. Jeff,
I'm not the master blender for High Coast.
You're not.
So no, I am not. I am not the master blender for High Coast. I'm the master blender of the Kaya whiskey and cognac. But I do work with High Coast quite closely on various different roles. So I hate to say that I'm the master blender for them because I'm not. But I work with various different roles with them. And brought them into the United States because I was very passionate about the quality of what they were doing.
Okay, well, Jeffrey knows all about High Coast, and he's here to tell us all about it. And Adam Parker is the brand manager, brand representative for High Coast on the West Coast here in California. So he's here to back up Jeffrey and step in whenever necessary. So we're excited.
It's going to be often. It's going to be often. Yeah,
absolutely. I know this is the second time we're welcoming Jeff, and it was a lot of fun last time. I'm sure it's going to be awesome this time as well. Looks like all familiar faces, so everyone knows the drill. Have fun, ask questions, get nerdy, and let's get down to whiskey.
I will tell you, thank you so much for having me, and to talk a little bit of High Coast. So this is actually the first. I've actually never done a High Coast tasting. Do I have a microphone issue?
Yeah, you sound a little trembly. It was great before we hit record, but now it's trembling a little bit.
Really? Can you hear me better now?
No, you want to mute and unmute and see if that helps?
Oh, can you hear me now?
It's a little trembly. It's like garbled.
Trembly, garbled.
It was perfect before.
Yeah, it was great before.
Let me try to figure this out.
I can hit pause if you want to log out, log back in. Maybe that helps.
What about now?
Still there.
Still there, trembling.
Yeah.
All right. So let me log out and I'll log right back in.
Okay, I'll hit pause.
So just to give everyone a little bit of perspective, Jeff's not just the sweetest guy that lives in Jersey. He's actually considered one of the greatest living master blenders in the world, along with, what's his name? Delmore.
Richard Patterson.
Richard Patterson. Yeah, no, he's considered in that same vein. He's worked at Deanson, Tobermory, Leching. Oh, hey,
Boonhaven,
Mo Hennessy. Came in trying to be able to
So your sound is still pretty terrible.
Really?
Yeah. Adam, what's up? You got to troubleshoot that.
No, I'm gonna log completely out.
Maybe there isn't enough signal in the upper floor or something.
Yeah, Jeff, you sounded great when we originally saw you.
I think he fully left the room, but let's hope for the best.
Okay.
What about now?
Perfect.
Oh, you sound
fantastic. Awesome. Okay, no more muting you.
Oh, awesome.
The show is yours.
Don't move for 45 minutes, dude.
Well, that's a hard task.
Yeah.
Who said 45 minutes? We're only tasting one expression.
Jesus.
So anyway, all I wanted to finish saying was it's a privilege to work for the brand, and it is exceptionally rare to be talking to one of the best master blenders on the planet. Even if this is not the person that owns this brand, that made this brand, it's exceptionally rare to be talking to someone that has this much whiskey experience. And
well, I appreciate that, Adam, and your flattery is going to give you another raise. That's totally. But how High Coast came to be in terms of how I got involved with High Coast, it was very simple of what's behind me. I'm a whiskey nerd. I love whiskey and I love collecting whiskey. Regardless that I'm a blender, I've been a blender majority of all my life. I just don't want to drink all my own product. I want to drink other people's as well and kind of see what they're doing. And so like I have in my, so I used to have this in my house. Unfortunately, my wife kicked it out of my house, but luckily she didn't kick me out of my house. So I'll give you everybody a tour. So this is, you kind of don't really see all of it, but this is the outside bar. Um, uh, which is just a bunch of whiskeys, and then I have my proper bar, which I call the Wee Witchy, which is after a still in Mortlock, which is their small still. Which I'm a big Mortlock fan. And then and there's it starts there, it goes there, a lot of whiskey. To the bar in back of me. And you can't really see because the lights aren't on. But so a lot of whiskey and the whiskey behind me.
Jeff, if you could say, like, what is your, if the whole building was on fire, man, and you had to grab one bottle, what would it be?
1911 Johnny Walker, white label.
Everybody hear that? That he has a 1911 Johnny Walker?
No, Johnny Walker white label. So white label was only made for 4 years until Dewar's actually sued them, and they decided not. And then Johnny Walker abandoned the lawsuit and did not produce it anymore. So there was a Johnny Walker white label before there was a black label, or before, actually, let's say there was a red label, and then they came out with their white label, which was a lower SKU. And then after white, there came black. So 1911, I would probably grab that, and I'd probably grab King Cleave. 1969 is probably what I would grab.
Hey, you seem to like that. You seem to like one of those Balvinis. Pretty. You really seem to like one of those Balvinis.
Well, I have every Balvenie that was actually ever made. So in my collection, so every Balvenie from 1970 to on, I actually have a bottle of. Some I have 2 or 3 bottles of. So I'm a whiskey collector. So I'm someone that enjoys whiskey, but I don't just collect because I think it's going to be worth money. I collect it because I want to enjoy it. So I always have a couple bottles, and I'll always open up a bottle or 2. So I don't think I'm a little bit different of a collector. I don't really think of monetary value, even though the prices are kind of crazy these days. I actually think about, like, if I'm going to enjoy it. If I don't enjoy it, if I open up a bottle and don't enjoy it, I'll sell it off. There are certain things in my collection. People goes, I can't believe you don't have that. I'm like, this because I just don't like it. and everybody has their own preference of what they like, what they don't like. But in my collection, everything else. If you're a whiskey nerd like myself, or and you've dedicated half your life and half your liver to the pursuit of whiskey, you want to drink what you like, and you want to drink with good friends, and that's what it's all about. It's about the journey and drinking with people and memories that you have, and that's what's kind of like I just took my dad to the warehouse, to the Kyle warehouse, and he was drinking whiskey. And I'll remember that for the rest of my life. And he was telling me this cask I like, this cask I don't like. And Jeff, I think this cask, you're full of shit. So I'm like, hey, I'm just trying to test you. So, but whiskey is about a journey and experiencing with like you guys have this whiskey society, and a very large whiskey society. And, it's all about bringing people together. And that's what whiskey does, which is what kind of dedicated my life and my liver to. But thank you for having me. And I'm kind of excited about High Coast and doing this High Coast tasting, because I've never done a High Coast tasting, and I've never really talked about High Coast and how High Coast was instrumental in our portfolio. So just kind of give you an idea. So I knew High Coast when they first started as box distillery, and there's Three distilleries in the world that are considered the icons of of distilling, and believe it or not, High Coast is one of them. So it was High Coast. It was Daft Mill, Francis from Daft Mill. If nobody's ever tried it, Scotch whiskey distillery, very close to Edinburgh, north of Edinburgh. It's absolutely beautiful. And the other one, Springbank. And you can actually kind of put Macallan in that category because Macallan's quite big. But if you're looking at like they always call it like the Holy Trinity, and High Coast was one of those distilleries. So my thinking was what I wanted to know their process and understand their process as a whiskey nerd. So understanding the process as a whiskey nerd, so I went there numerous times, and I realized and how there was a synergy between us and them was their distillation process. So the distillation process is actually very Japanese in style. So you have your Scotch whiskey, your Irish whiskey. Your Scotch whiskey is distilled normally twice. Your Irish whiskey is distilled normally 3 times. You guys all know that. But the Scotch. So Box follows a Scotch whiskey profile, but does everything that the Japanese does in the terms of when they malt their barley, they will not use the malt that is cloudy. They only use the clear malt. When they're charging the still, they only charge it with the heart. And when they're basically they're bringing it into to make it a spirit, and they're basically cooling the condenser. They'll cool the condenser to a certain rate or a certain temperature, and only really the Japanese actually do that. The Irish and the Scotch whiskeys will do it whatever comes off the burn, whichever coming off their water source. So they're very Japanese in style, and we've had a great relationship for number of years. And when we're Kaio, I'm not going to be you won't be the first ones to know this, but Kaio is building a distillery in Japan because we actually right now we source all new make spirit from other distillers, but we're actually building a distillery in Japan. And High Coast is kind of they're one of the people that we will go to in terms of we have questions of the distillation process because they're considered one of the best distillers in the world. So that's where High Coast is an integral part into our company. So I hope that was a long-winded answer, but I do apologize. So Adam, so what whiskey we're gonna have first?
Well, that was the question we had for you. Is we have in front of us Alv, Hav, Berg, Dalve, Timmer, and 63. And let me know if that's the order we're gonna taste in, because
listen, that's the order that I actually, well, I would probably change it up a little bit, but we can do it in that order. So we'll do Alf. So does anybody know anything about, so basically the distillation between Swedish whiskey, they're the only ones. So High Coast Distillery is the only ones that actually follow a Japanese tradition, and actually are more about the spirit, basically the neutral spirit, the spirit that they actually make, and then they work on the maturation process. So they're considered one of the best whiskeys outside of Scotland and Japan. And that's one of the reasons why that I wanted to get involved with them and wanted to be part of what they were creating. So I'm not the master blender, but we do a lot of work together. So, there'll be some new SKUs that come out probably in about a year to 6 months that I'll have my hands in on the blending side. So the first whiskey you'll have is Alf.
I know a lot of people have 6 glasses in front of them. Should we pre-pour and let them open up, or should we pour as we go?
I would listen. Let's pour the Alf.
Okay.
Let's everybody pour it. So what everybody understands. So do you kind of know where? Let me try to grab my computer here. Can I kind of show you a presentation about Alf? Is that possible?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it.
I think it's very important that you understand where this whiskey actually comes from.
And just so everybody knows, the whole reason I do these events is so that I can see what Jeff is willing to share with everybody.
Well, I would love to do it. Can I do an event with you guys in the next 2 months about wood? Is that possible?
Sure. Yeah, well, if you twist my arm,
Yes.
I can make that
Do
happen.
it right away. Do it.
Because I do a master class about wood. And so it's kind of boring, kind of geeky, but people are saying you need to share this. I'm like, really? I'm like, people are really interested in this. So
We love geeky. You're speaking our language. We had a what was he biochemist talking about yeast for 2 hours, PhD. And
well, I won't go there, but I'll tell you about how wood is, how you select wood. What's a good
schedule
wood?
it right away.
You know what drives me crazy is, everybody goes, oh, we buy the best wood and we select the best wood and how's your whiskey? Well, we have the best wood. Like, well, how do you know we have the best wood? Why do you what makes it the best wood? Do basically, the oxygen level that's coming out of the staves? Do you know where it's cut into the tree? Did you hand select that wood from that tree? Then you can understand if it's actually the best wood. Do you know that, the lactones that are coming from that, how it's toasted, how it's charred, and then what toast, and how that interacts with the whiskey. So, so I do a whole, course about that. Like I told you, I'm like, it's the only time I feel smart. So if you guys would be interested in that, I would love to do a tasting with you guys about wood and wood maturation.
Let's check the calendar. Get it scheduled.
We'll make it happen. Sounds good, Jeffrey.
Vadim, schedule it.
I will. I got it.
So, and I do apologize. I'm trying to find this video for you guys, just to kind of give you an idea of what High Coast is. It's probably in the most beautiful setting. The only other setting that I would ever say that that was similar to it, that it was almost like a religious experience, was Boonhaven. So if anybody here has been in Boonhaven, it's, I was just gonna say that because I work for them and I have a special piece of my heart for them, but it is a religious experience when you go to High Coast. Give me 1 second. So does everybody have this in their
Everybody should have the High Coast Hav, the Olive. Everyone's starting with the Olive, right?
everybody has the Alf.
Yeah, we got the olive.
Now I want you to nose the Alf for a second, and I want you to I don't want you to taste it. I just want you to nose it a couple of times. So the first thing you'll get is it's very fresh. The second time you'll nose it, you'll start picking up kind of the nuance or kind of the oak, which you can definitely tell it was done in bourbon. So you get the honey and vanilla. And the third time is you're going to start picking up the nuances of the whiskey. And you're going to start picking up the floral and the almost like the heather notes that you'll find. But what the interesting things about what makes, people talk to me about maturation process, and I'm all about maturation. And what makes whiskey unique. And I always say a lot has to do with his environment, but I always say cold is nice. So one of the things about High Coast is they have, they have warm summers, which is, if you've ever been to the north port of Sweden, they have the Northern Lights. You wouldn't think they would have warm summers, but they do. And they have really cold winters. So cold actually, so you have the warm that will open up the wood, and then the sugars will then impart into that whiskey. But when that happens, the whiskey becomes unbalanced. So the cold actually pushes that unbalanced notes and kind of mellows the whiskey out. So there's a longer season of that coldness compared to what you would have in Kavalan. So if you take like a Taiwan whiskey, it's almost the exact, and they're on. It's so crazy because they're on the same path, but completely opposite on the globe. So if you try Cavalon and their bourbon cask, and you try High Coast on Alv, you can actually taste so many similarities, but such different in their environments, which is probably the most amazing experience that you can have in terms of whiskeys that were basically distilled almost exactly the same, almost the same exact cut, with the same exact material, that were aged in almost exactly opposite areas of the world. And they're buying the same wood from the same people to age their whiskey in. And it's absolutely amazing, the similarities and the differences between the two. And so if anybody has a chance to try Cavalon, I do suggest it, especially against High Coast. And I shouldn't be talking about other brands while I'm here. I'm probably get fired, but it's just quite interesting to see the differences between the two. So let me try to put this video up for you, if I can actually find it.
So everyone has the Alf right now, right? Are you finding that to be like a light?
We were told not to drink it yet. We're just smelling it.
No, you're just dozing at them. Why are you rushing me at them?
Well, I didn't know if you want to be up till 2 in the morning, man.
No, I'll be up to 2 in the morning, so you can join in. So I do apologize. I cannot find this video, which is probably my fault. So I think it's just important that they actually see it. I can't find it in 2 seconds. We're gonna skip it. So does anybody have any questions while I'm looking for this?
What was the other, you said the order that I suggested wasn't the order you would go in.
No, it's fine. It's fine. The only thing I'd probably move 60. You had 63 at the end?
I did, yep.
So I actually like 63 after the Alf. And I know that
Wow.
it's not the norm, because but it kind of opens up your flavor profiles because you're trying Alv and 63, and they're so kind of married together in terms of their flavor profile, and it kind of opens up your flavor, your palate to the rest of it. So
But 63 is peated and it casts strength, right?
yes, it is.
Wow.
And you would say no. Everything that you learn would like, no, we'll try that at the end. But I think you should actually try that next.
Okay.
You're trying. The reason I say that, you're trying the essence of the whiskey and Alv of what the nuance is, and you're trying the basically raw spirit of the other spectrum that they make. So they're so different that it'll give you an idea of the distillery itself. So so I would probably go there. So can I share my screen?
Yes, you can.
Is that possible? Okay.
It is.
Let me share this and let me show you a little bit about High Coast. Well, that's not High Coast. Well, that's High Coast, but
No, it's just my cat.
that's just your cat.
Yeah, he loves High Coast, so that's why he's screaming.
Did everybody see this?
Yep, we got it. We're not getting any sound, but we can see the video.
Yeah, we'll see the subtitles.
Is it just me, or do those barrels look smaller than a standard 53 gallon?
Yes, and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
So if you kind of get it's, can I stop this?
You want to exit the screen share?
Yeah, if
Or-
I could.
Yeah, I got you.
There we go. So High Coast is the northernmost distillery in Sweden, and they never tried out to become a Swedish whiskey. So and listen, the Swedes love peat, so there's going to be peat in everything that they do, but they have different levels of peat. The Alv has very little, so you're looking at maybe 2 to 3 ppms. So it's extremely light, hardly there. But the whiskey is very soft and very elegant. So, you know, Alv is it's a very beautiful light whiskey aged in first fill and mostly second fill bourbon barrels. So this is mostly first and second fill, about 50% of both. So you can actually smell the youthness of this whiskey. So this isn't old whiskey. So we're basically looking at, I would love to tell you, this is 10, 12, 13 years, 14 years old. But right now this whiskey is around 6.5 years old for the Alf. You know. No, but 6.5 years old when I did a lot of work with Chichibu, when he was like, well, what should we put an age statement on it? I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, it's 3.5 years old, but it's freaking amazing. And I kind of feel that way with High Coast. High Coast is a young distillery that makes some amazing whiskey at young ages. Like when people talk to me about old whiskey just means it's old, doesn't mean it's good. Like I have a huge collection behind me, and I have a lot of Brewer. I'm a big Brewer fan, but I like young Brewer. You give me a 8, 10, 12-year-old Brewer, I love it. The 30, 40-year-old or 40-year-old Brewer, I'm not a big fan of. Every distillery has its peaks and valleys. Like when you talk about Glenmorangie is great when it's young and vibrant. So between that 12 and 15-year-old range, I think Glenmorangie shines. When you talk about Glenfiddich and Macallan, I think it shines when it's 18 to 30 because they have the oiliness and the way they're still. So every distillery is different, and I actually think High Coast, the way it distills, I think it's beautiful at a younger age. So I think it'll reach its peak between 12 to about 15 years old, is where I think High Coast is going to shine in terms of its maturation. And understanding distillery, distillery notes as well. So what does everybody think about this one? Does everybody try it though?
You said not to.
Well, drink it.
Okay. On the nose, I caught a glimpse of like a lavender note on there, which was really interesting. I've never had that before.
You'll actually get a lot of lavender. You'll actually get it's very floral, but you also get some of the peat on the back end, but it won't be right in there, but you'll get a lot of vanilla and the honey from the maturation, from the barrels that's there. So you talked about the smaller barrels. So High Coast, when it was considered box, they were on a kind of a shoestring budget when they first started, and they were selling those small barrels to people that wanted to invest. And so you can buy a small barrel instead of buying a whole barrel. They would sell those small barrels. But where those small barrels came into play is because there were some small barrels that gave a lot of flavor that they would introduce into the blends in terms of if they were looking for something a little extra, they would actually blend that with the Alv and the Hav. So there is some of those small barrels, but majority of it is your regular bourbon barrels. that are, a little less than 200 liters. So what I love about High Coast is it's kind of weird. Like when you think about, and I hate to say this, like when you think about like John, I have affinity for Johnny Walker. Not because they offered me a job to work for them, but I have affinity because my father. I started my whiskey career and drinking because it was the only thing. My father never locked up Glenfiddich or Johnny Walker. And my father is a big Johnny Walker fan, so he's a Johnny Walker Red fan. Don't hold that against him, But we would drink, Johnny Walker Gold, and we would drink Johnny Walker Gold in the freezer, and because of its grain content, it would be very syrupy and very. But olive, if you actually put olive in the freezer, it actually do the same exact thing. It'll come almost syrupy, even though there's no grain and it's 100% malted barley. That's in there, and it's all double distilled from pot still. It'll get syrupy on you. So I actually love olive in the freezer, and I actually drink that quite a bit, or this dram quite a bit from the freezer.
And Jeff, what would you recommend that we do next? Would you say it should be
I think we do 63 next.
63 next?
Yeah, we're going right to 63, Adam.
Awesome.
Is that okay?
You're the man, dude. That
No,
sounds
I'm not the man. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy in Jersey, just drinking with you guys. So.
100%.
So,
But yeah, no, Jeff, if you think that's where we should go, that sounds amazing.
what did I hit?
No, you're good.
Oh.
You're here. All right, on to
right.
cast strength.
So listen. So this is what I want this tasting to become. So no, I'm not the blender for this tasting, or I'm not the blender for this company. But I know, and I work very closely with them. I would love this to be an open table of discussion about what you like, what you don't like, and be completely honest from everybody that's on this palette or on this tasting. High Coast is a new brand, and I love to hear feedback from you guys and what you guys think. And we will help create, we might change some things from this discussions that we actually have. And what you like, what you don't like. High Coast is always trying to find an identity of who it is. They were considered the best distillers in the world, but not the best blenders in the world. I kind of came out on as I got involved in the High Coast project. So I'd love to figure out from you guys of what you guys think of the brand, good and bad, and what you like and what you don't like. And I want you guys to be completely honest. I would like this tasting to be more organic and more sharing than me telling. So, does everybody agree with that or no?
I think that's pretty rare. It's a pretty rare opportunity that you get one of the best master blenders in the world to ask for your opinion and your perception of things. So yeah, I would say this is a really awesome, rare opportunity for you guys to share your thoughts.
Well, here's the thing, Adam. Like, I mean, I've had a long, career, and I've been very fortunate in my life. But I always say, if you're not going to be the best blender in the world, you're not going to be the janitor. You're not going to be really good at your job. So you need to learn from everyone and every people that you meet about how to make a product better. So this is a new product that's come to the market, and I might have my vision, and other people might have their vision, and Roger might have their vision. But I'd love to hear from everyone what they actually think. And there's no right or wrong answer. If you tell me, it's horrible, then tell me it's horrible. If you like it and you like nuances, or I like this or like that, I'd love to know from you guys, what you guys actually think of the brand. I'm not here to try to sell you High Coast or you to drink High Coast. I want you to experience High Coast with me and to make it better and better and better for the future.
Well, if you think the move is to go to the 63 next, would you mind walking us through the 63?
Okay, so the 63, I will tell you, I'm a little partial to it. So let me finish this whiskey and I'll go to this one. So this is the 63,
Attaboy.
which is quite, it's a really interesting story. So it's on the 63 parallel. It's 63% alcohol. And there's basically 63 barrels that actually make up this whiskey. So the number 63 is prevalent through this entire portion of it. So, and can everybody knows this whiskey? So, and I want you to nose it with your mouth open, right? And I want you to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. So now if I told you this was 63 ppms, you would probably tell me I'm lying. So everything they do is 63 with this. And it's absolutely breathtaking. It's peated without being, offensive. It's probably one of the most well-balanced nosing whiskeys at that percentage alcohol that I've ever had. And the reason why I want you to go to 63 now, it's not going to kill your palate. So because it's soft and it's subtle, but I want you to taste Alf, and then I want you to taste 63, and then I want you to taste Half. They kind of show you the journey of the brand, of a brand trying to find an identity. So this is not like a brand that started like, Kayo, which was like, we had an identity. We were like, what are we going to do? But High Coast is more about the journey and finding who they are along the path. And that's why 63 is, I think, so special, because you're trying something right from the cask, not diluted, but the essence of where they were. And then Halv is what they've become. So I want you to nose this and then take a sip. What does everybody think of that? John, you have a great screensaver, John. Just saying. So, is that the Maker's Mark distillery?
No, it's Lakers Mark.
Which John are you talking to? We have at least 3 on the call.
No, there was a John that has a lot of barrels behind them, and it looks like Maker's Mark. So I've been there quite often.
Background.
So.
Oh, a good guess. Wow.
So what does everybody think of 63?
Not nearly as peaty as I would have expected.
As far as cast strength whiskeys, what's everybody's opinion?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
saying in the comments, it reminds me of Lechik and the independent bottlings of Kulila, that metal oily kind of smoke of it's got some minerality but bright citrus notes mixed in with it.
Well, Jeff, you know nothing about Lechik, so
I know nothing about Lechik. Even though my license plate was Lechik for a long time.
I just did a tasting with Brendan 2 nights ago.
Nice. So I made Lechik for a number of years, and I'm a huge fan of Lechik. And there's a lot of similarities between the two. This is actually more peated than Lechik. It's kind of interesting because you picked up. I always say that Lechik is a little bit sweeter. It's almost like sweet peat. And you have the Kalila, which is a little bit drier. So this is kind of in between the two. So Jason, I think you're spot on. It's very interesting. But what I find really interesting is that you pick nuances of it at 63%. So when you start looking about the maturation process, this couldn't happen in a first fill barrel. So when you have flavors like this, it needs to be in second fill. Okay, or the wood is gonna the wood and the peat are gonna fight with each other, and it's gonna take years for them to mellow. So this is done in second fill, and they'll kind of give you an idea of the flavor profile. And so it'll kind of be more balanced at a younger age.
Jeff, where do you think we should go from here? Do you think we should go to Berg or to the
I think we should go right to Hav.
Hav it is?
So the problem that I do have, Adam, is I do not think I have Hav here. Oh, I do have it open.
I was gonna say if you're missing a bottle of whiskey, that has nothing to do with me, man. That's all.
No. Yes,
No.
it has everything. It has everything to do with you.
Yeah. This is
Everything
part,
to do with you.
This is part of the challenge of working with one of the
Yeah.
greatest whiskey collectors on planet Earth, guys.
So,
Hey, Jeffrey,
Adam,
quick,
Adam, you're way too kind. You're way too kind.
Jeffrey, quick
I do
question.
apologize. It's a little late. I was sitting there having a nice bottle of wine with my wife today, and I'm like, I need to leave you. And she's like, where are you going? I'm like, I need to work. She's like, what do you mean you need to work? I'm like, I need to do a tasting.
Yeah,
So-
so just so everybody knows, it's 11 o'clock where Jeff is at, and he's partying with us from his own personal.
Well, this is my third.
Alright.
This is my third tasting. So I did a tasting of Kayo in Japan, virtually. I did a tasting in about Kayo, and then 2 hours later in China. Then I had a nice little sleep. Woke up this morning, did some work, and then have a tasting with you guys. So I'm quite excited about this. So everybody put Hav in your glass. But I don't want you to taste it right away. I want you to nose it and taste it. And I want you to think of Olive, and I want you to think of the 63. So think of the olive, the softness of the olive, the honey, the vanilla notes, but also think about the structure and the of the 63. So if you were going to combine Alv and 63 and break them down, Hav would be born. So you're trying something that was where they started, something where they aspired to on the 63, and something what they've created, which was voted the top 6 whiskey in the world by Whiskey Advocate this year. I would love to tell you I blended this, but I did not. So, not saying I didn't have a hand in working with High Coast. But, so everyone, thank you so much for joining me, and we have a lot more whiskeys to try. But
Cheers.
I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Jeff. I think Jordan was trying to say something. Go ahead, Jordan.
Well, a couple things. But first, as a side note, because we had discussions separately, Jeffrey, curiosity, your accent. We're trying to place it. Can you tell us a little bit about where you grew up, where it is? Because like an Irish broad comes out every once in a while, and then like
He's Jersey Irish.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem with that. So Jordan, so I grew up in New Jersey. I would love to tell you I have this great lineage of whiskey heritage, and my father before him was a whiskey blender. That was complete lie. They could have been big whiskey drunks, which my father is, but so there's no lineage in terms of basically a history of being a blender, but where my accent comes from. So when I was young and very fortunate, I was able to work with some of the distillers over in Scotland. So I lived in Scotland for a number of years, but I've never could take on the Scottish accent. So everybody thought that I was actually Irish, so they wanted to beat me up. So it's kind of like an Irish Scottish thing and an American thing. or I was just saying American thing. It's kind of a New Jersey thing. So I really don't know where I fit in. So people actually say, "Where do you live?" And I say, actually, I really don't know where I live. I'm between Japan, United States, France, and England. So I always say that I live on United Seat 2A because I always get upgraded, but which is nice. So my brogue comes from living there, but I was actually born in America.
Very nice. And then on going back on the 63, I was going to say what I like about the nose most is I like the peated ones that smell like more like campfire, which I get like sort of that smoked meat, and that flavor profile definitely comes through on the Hav at the end. But I get a really nice honey. I could taste. I assume bourbon barrel finish. Maybe that's where I'm getting that. Or
Well, these are all bourbon barrel finishes. Does everybody have 63 still in a glass or no? So what I would do, so if you take 63, so I'm gonna do it with you. So let me finish this class and I'll join you.
And I'm on a work trip in North Carolina, so it's 11 o'clock for me too. And you'll forgive the plastic cups, but hey.
All right. So the best way to describe it, if you take off, right? And listen, this is not exact measurement. Well, I'll go there. And then I take 63. And I do about a third. I'll nose it. And I'll taste it. And then I'll try Alf. It's kind of the essence of High Coast. It's Nordic. It's salty, very salty. You have the peat influence. You have the nuances of the distillery, but you have this beautiful vanilla and honey notes. But the barrels that they're using are most second fill, and people always say second fills not right, and I will totally disagree with them. It depends on the distillery. Every distillery is different. So there's first fill that works great with distilleries. There's second fill that works better. Happens to do with distilleries, and I think second fill barrels, especially bourbon barrels, work amazing with High Coast. And most of these will be coming from Heaven Hill and Maker's Mark.
Also, just to give everyone some perspective, it's exceptionally rare to get Jeff to make a blend right in front of you. So that was a pretty special moment.
No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that, Adam. I'm just a blind squirrel trying to find a nut, my friend.
Yeah, he says that, but
If everybody can do that, if you have some 63 and you have some Alf, and you can kind of put them together, or and
then everyone
you just try it.
Karlovitch?
And then you put a little olive in your glass. You kind of see where the brand is actually going.
Hey, Jeffrey, it's Brandon.
How you doing, Brandon, my friend?
Oh my God.
Hey, what's up, Adam? Hey, unfortunately, I was just able to now sign on. Could you start over for me?
Yeah, we're gonna go back to about an hour just for you, Bob.
Hey, Adam, this is my third tasting today, and I started with Japan, and then I started with China. So so the answer is no, even though I love you.
All right, no worries, I get it.
Everyone here also has an extra rare treat. You have the director of spirits for the one of the largest distributors in California on the call.
Oh, these guys know me.
Or as we like to know,
you,
Brandon from the group.
I will tell you, it might be a love fest, but there's very few people in the world that I trust explicitly when it comes to spirits, and Brandon's one of them. The reason why Kayo and High Coast are with Wine Warehouse has everything to do with Brandon. Has nothing to do with me, but has everything to do with Brandon. and what he brings to the table. And we lost without him. And I value his opinion greatly. And I'm not just saying that because, he sells a lot of our stuff.
Because you're on your
I say
third
that-
tasting.
No, I'm on my third tasting. Yes, I am. I'm just saying because I love you, brother. I love you, brother. I do.
I love you, my friend.
I want this tasting to be a little bit more organic and getting everybody's feedback of what they thought of High Coast and what they thought of their opinions about High Coast. Instead of this big presentation about, Nordic and like everybody knows that High Coast is great distillers, but I want to know what we can do in the future and what everybody thinks of the brand, and to move forward. And that's where.
Speaking of moving forward, Jeff, what is our next SKU that you would like us to taste?
Well, what's the next SKU that they have actually?
Berg.
What else do they have?
Dalve and Timmer. By the
Okay.
way, we're not in a hurry, so we're not rushing you. If you want to hang out and chat, we're happy to do that.
And actually, hey, just so I know, Jeffrey, for tasting people on stuff later, you guys generally taste 63 before you do Berg and Timmer?
I did 63 before this group, yes.
Yeah,
So to answer your question,
Brendan, he did 63 second.
second.
That's because you're an animal and because you're on your third tasting, obviously.
No. It wasn't. It wasn't. I wanted them to understand. I wanted them to try Alf, and I wanted them to try 63, and then I wanted them to kind of morph them together and then try Hav.
Oh, there you go.
Because it gives-
Okay, cool.
Them an essence of the brand itself and where it was going. Like everybody is trying to find an identity of who you are, and all started one way, but 63 was another way, and then those two SKUs created Hav. So instead of doing this tasting that you would normally do, I want to show them the maturation of how they actually got to Hav.
Got it.
Which turned into one of the best whiskeys that are out there today.
So next we have Berg and we have Timmer and Dalva. So what would you say should be next?
So I think the next one should be Dalva.
Okay.
So which batch do you guys have? Do you have batch 2?
Yes. The non-sherry finish Dalva.
Non-sherry finish.
Actually, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
What do these names mean, since I assume they are Swedish?
It's all about silence. So every name has to do about the sea or has to do about nature. One being, quiet, one being the sea, one being wood, one being, so it's all about elements that are actually there. And it was kind of like their nature silence, or they call the silence of nature series that they've come out with. And so each of them means a specific, like Timmer means wood, Alv means, ocean. So they all mean different elements. So if you try, are we on Dalve?
Yeah.
So Dalve is very interesting because Dalve, when you know Dalve, it's kind of similar to the Alf, but it has a little bit more depth and I would say backbone. And the reason for this is it's not 100% done in bourbon barrels. So there will be some sherry influence in Dalve, even though there's a Dalve Spanish version. There'll be about 5% Spanish influence in the regular Dalve to give it some depth and character. Now the Dalve is no longer, so it will not be produced anymore. So this is about 5 parts per million. So there's some peat to this whiskey, but it's about 5 parts per million. So what does everybody think of that? I feel like I'm talking to myself.
Some citrus and some peach.
We're here. We're here. People are smelling and sharing. I know Jason's got a palate.
It's lighter and fresher.
It makes me think of Irish. Like that's the first thing is that the category I go to for the Dove is that light honey, light fruit, everything light, delicate.
Mhm.
A little bit of oil still though, because it still just clings and it stays there.
So when you say Irish whiskey, give me an Irish whiskey you think this resembles.
It's not as quite as fruity as Green Spot, and it's not as buttery as Red Spot or as Redbreast 12, but it's between those two.
Okay. So like a yellow spot?
Yeah, but Yellow Spot's even got more lemon than this.
Jason, you really nailed it on your profile. That was great.
I literally just came from an Irish whiskey tasting.
But is it your third or your second?
This is my third. I
Okay.
have one at 5, one at 8, and now this one at 10.
Well,
I
the Swedish St. Patrick's Day.
On Thursday.
Yeah, it really advanced pre-gaming for St. Patty's.
Yeah. So when we talked a little bit about how High Coast kind of is involved with, Cayo and, Kelt Cognac is, we consider High Coast one of the best distillers in the world. So building a distillery, we wanted to learn from the best, and we considered them we wanted to give them knowledge on the blending side, and we wanted to get knowledge on the distillation side. So that's where the kind of the marriage came to be between our two brands.
Yeah, High Coast has always been incredibly well respected in the world of single malt. I first learned about them back when they were called Box Distillery. And I don't know where I found it, but I read some article where a lot of the single malt, non-Scottish single malt makers in the world were all converging on this, little known distillery called Box Distillery in Sweden. And they were so well respected that that's where everybody held the meeting.
Yeah, so about 8 years ago or 7 years ago, every major distiller in the world and blender in the world basically chose a place to actually meet and talk about whiskey. And it was an open forum, the World Whiskey Forum. So it was an open forum for people like myself, and I was there to talk about blending, to talk about maturation, and kind of share ideas and what was working, and to talk about different things that we were doing. And it was basically all our everybody kind of brought together. People from Glenfiddich, all the major blenders from Scotland were there, and we were brought into one place. And the one place that everyone wanted to go was Box Distillery. Because it was so well respected of what they were doing. I will tell you, in the world of whiskey is right nowadays, it's always younger, and cutting corners and doing this kind of thing to get this kind of flavor profile. Box was and High Coast was never about that. They were just trying to make the best spirit, the best distillate they could possibly make. And that's what I kind of respect them. There's no cutting any corners. If it's not ready, it's not ready. If it's not there, it's not there. And they're never going to be who they're not. And and they're trying to figure out who they want to be, but they know who they don't want to be, if that makes any sense. It's about a discovery with them. And that's why they're so well respected. And they want to learn, and brilliant to them that everyone came to them to learn, not just on their distillation process, but they wanted to understand what they were doing, and then they can understand what everyone else was doing. So when I tell you High Coast is on the forefront of whiskey and will be one of the major brands in the future, it definitely will be, in terms of prestige, in terms of how people view the brand, and then the taste profile and what they have laid down. So
Yeah, whiskey advocate. put them on their list of distilleries to watch.
Number
I-
6,
I-
baby.
Number 6. So I was a little upset about number 6. I'm not gonna be honest with you. Yeah. Don't show that to me, Brandon, because I was number 14. So
Hey, just to be nominated is an honor.
just to be, yeah, I would agree. So but listen, every whiskey in the portfolio, we're just trying to make great whiskey and different whiskeys that people are going to enjoy and try to experiment and have an emotion about. And it's about the journey and about drinking it. That's what I said. So that's why I said I totally honest with you. If there was something you don't like and something you think would be better, I'm going to listen and I'm going to take it to heart. At the end of the day, like my favorite whiskey is the next whiskey that I'm going to make, and my favorite whiskey is part of the next journey. So and I'd be foolish not to learn from anyone here of what they think about the whiskey.
Yeah, Jeffrey's about as real as it gets, and he's one of the few people in this business that would actually listen if you gave him constructive criticism. So don't hold back, good or bad.
Yeah.
This is only an observation, not a criticism or anything, but I'll tell you, each of them improved with a little splash of water.
I would agree. I totally agree. So when you put a splash of water, it'll actually open up the whole bouquet. I actually think High Coast is a little tight. When they first, it was almost like a bottle of red wine that's a little tight, just needs a little time. And I'm not a big fan of aerating your wine because you have all those, or aerating your whiskey because you're dealing with something with high alcohol. It's gonna be that size your nose. You don't want all those vapors coming up. But it's almost you almost need it to breathe and to live. And I would completely agree with that. And if you add a little drop of water, we'll definitely open it. And listen, one of the things, I always say, I'm very strict of how you should drink your whiskey. I always say, drink your whiskey however you freaking like it. If you want to add some water to it, you want to add some ice to it, I'm completely fine with it. If you add Coke to it, we'll probably never be friends. But but drink whiskey however you enjoy it. But I do like High Coast I will tell you right now, 1 cube of ice. If I'm drinking off and I'm pouring it for myself, I'll put 1 cube of ice in there. If I'm drinking, like our signature, I'll drink it neat with a splash of water. If I'm drinking our cash strength, I'll actually put it over ice. If I'm in the winter, it's going to be neat, but if it's in the summer, over ice. So drink whiskey however you enjoy it.
And
Don't
so,
let some whiskey experts tell you otherwise.
Looking towards our next expression, do you think we should be doing the Berg?
I actually think we should go to. You have Timmer as well, right?
Yeah.
Let's go Berg first. Let's go Berg.
There's smoke coming out of your ears.
Yeah, I would probably do Timmer. Let's do Timmer first.
I can see the wheels spinning.
No,
I trust the guy.
because Berg is so different. And you have, listen, there's one whiskey that's probably my favorite in the entire portfolio, and it's Berg. And I think that we should leave that for last. Timmer just gives you this beautiful peat and smoky and toast note. Because when you start talking about Timmer's a little bit different because of the barrels. The barrels are basically 3 toast and 3 char. So there's a lot of different flavors that are going on in Timmer to make that whiskey happen with a beautiful peat note that's going on. So I would go Timmer next. So.
But we have no option at this point after that hard sell.
What was that?
I said, well, we have no choice now after that hard sell, man.
Yeah, what was that?
So if you blend the Berg and the Timmer, does it come out as a Cayo peated PX?
Negative. Ghost Rider. God, it was fun. So we're actually doing some really exciting things. So we have, the peated PX sherry. We have a PX peated that we're coming out with. I'm
Wait,
doing
that's
some really
that's Kayo, right?
That's Kayo.
Yeah.
So, and we're doing some interesting things with 20 port barrels with peat, which is quite interesting. I'm quite excited about. And not to talk about Kayo, but I'm Kayo blender. So Kayo is we're going to be known for. We're going to have a more of a valued SKU that was actually coming out, and we're going to be more of a sherry house and a Mizunara house, and the other would be Corey. So we're going to do less bourbon, and it's going to be more sherry. Mizunara is what we're going to be moving forward in the next couple of years about. So, which we're quite excited about.
Can I ask a question about the whiskey that we're drinking?
Yes.
So the Timmer, what can you tell us?
I'm sorry.
Hey, that's my fault. Sorry.
I'd just like to know a little bit more about the Timmer. I really have liked all these expressions, but I feel like I don't quite understand a little bit more about kind of what's going into it. So could you?
So the timber has to do with more of a peat level, but also this is done in first fill barrels. So this is #1 selects. So you're getting a little bit more flavor, more depth than you would with the olive or actually the Hav. So if you had the olive and the 63, they're kind of morphed together to make the Hav. Okay, the Timmer is more earth. You kind of got some more earthy notes, some more dried fruits you would get from the Timmer, but it's more of the flavors that you would get from. It's kind of olive, but up a notch in terms of kind of the peat level that's within the whiskey. So, and then the Berg is the Hav, but done in sherry. So the Timmer is a little bit more smoky, a little peaty, and it's more Scandinavian. So if people talk about, like, I know Jason was talking about Kalila, but it reminds me very similar of Kalila, but almost a cleaner Kalila. And everybody says, like, well, when you nose this a couple of times, you almost get like baby puke. And I hate to say that, but like baby puke is like a good thing. But that's kind of the flavor profile you're kind of looking for. And that's what I get from Timmer.
But aside from the profile, are you using Swedish peat, or where they're getting the barley from?
Oh, listen. I would love to lie to you and say there's Swedish peat. Swedish peat would be undrinkable. All your peat is coming from mostly Scotland. So the peat that's going to make this up is coming from Islay and Orkney. That's where your peat's coming from. Anybody that tell you, like, listen, like when you look, everyone talks about this. Is why I love when people talk about Scotland and they talk about they talk about the Highlands and the Lowlands and Islay and they talk about like the peat from Islay, and they're like, and the first words are, oh wow, it's all peaty and smoky and it's medicinal. I'm like, well, peat from Islay is actually very sweet and beautiful. If you took peat from the Lowlands and the Highlands, it would be almost undrinkable because of the pungent smell that partakes into the whiskey. So, peat from Islay and from Orkney Orkney was once part of the beach, less seaweed and less saltiness to it, and it lives this beautiful characteristic to the whiskey. When you talk about so if the Swedish, the Swedes are surrounded by water, but there's no really good peat that actually comes from Sweden. So it all comes from Ireland, or all comes from Scotland. Island peat is very dry and has different phenol levels. So island peat is more similar to Highland peat. So if you took like an Ardmore, which is slightly peated, the Ardmore would give you a representation of what actually Irish peat is. So I hope I went on a tangent. I do apologize. Did I answer anybody's question? Probably not.
Yeah, no, that made sense. I mean, you can make peat from any, decayed vegetation, trapped in mud, cut out over, thousands of years and dried, but that doesn't mean it's good.
Doesn't mean it's good. Listen, Brandon, I actually took some peat, believe it or not, from Florida, because it's all marshlands and it's full of peat. And it was probably the most gruesome, disgusting experiment I've ever tried in my entire life.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll never try to repeat it. But it just was undrinkable. So there's like, listen, there's barley from every different
Yeah.
source.
Oh, great pun. Great.
When people think of example, everything has to do with your environment. When you think about corn and bourbon, one of the biggest corn manufacturers in the world, or corn producers in the world, is actually French, and France. Their corn is completely different. So a lot of your Irish whiskeys now is made with French corn. It's completely different flavor profile than American corn because of how it's grown and the different sugar levels and sweetness it actually comes from. So it has to do with mostly your environment of where everything comes from, and understanding the different variants, but between all of it.
Yeah, peat is literally the definition of terroir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Jeff, what would you say should be the next whiskey we should try? Should it be?
It should be Berg.
The Berg.
We should go right to the Berg.
All right.
Adam, you're rushing me. I need to finish my whiskey first.
Hey, don't call me Russian, man. That's pejorative these days.
I say Russian. I said you're rushing me.
As we pour our last dram of the night, I invite everyone to turn on their camera and join me for just a second to raise a glass. Cheers.
There we go.
So can we? So I'm sorry, I'm trying to open.
No. Take your time. Open the
Raise
bottle.
the bottle.
Pour a glass for yourself.
Adam, you can turn yours back off.
I know, man. I know.
It'll give John Debney and Kwa and Rob and Jane a chance to jump on. All right, everybody got one?
Okay.
All right, cheers, everyone. Raise a glass. Thank you very much for gathering tonight. Cheers.
Sorry, Brennan.
Thanks so much.
Someone had to be as handsome as you.
Well, tall order, Phil.
Yeah, it's very tall order. There's Brandon and everyone else. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you can think about, so if everybody just tried the Berg, so that's basically Hav, that's aged in sherry. It gives you a completely different perspective of, but you still have the peat level. So you have the peat, you have this beautiful dried fruit, and the sherry notes that are going to actually come from the barrel. The Berg is actually my absolute favorite of the entire brand. And I'm not going to say that I'm a sherry freak, because I'm not. I like every kind of whiskey, but if there's one thing I'm going to drink from High Coast, it's Berg. I truly do think I think it will win in the top 20 next year for Whiskey Advocate. And the only reason it didn't is because we didn't send it this year to them. And we only sent half, even though it was requested that we send Berg to them. I wanted to send it to the next year. So there's a lot of exciting things, because Berg is, so the next 63% that's coming out with, I want it to be Berg. So when you have this beautiful notes of, vanilla and honey of the 63, and it kind of olive and Hav that are morphed together, I wanted there to be a 63 that was with a sherry note and what Berg is on its essence, and then morph them together. So we're very excited for the future of Berg, 63%. And that'll be coming out probably in the next 3 to 6 months. So, but this Berg is probably my favorite of the entire range. So, and it's completely different. So I apologize. I changed the format and changed what you guys were trying, but I wanted you to kind of get a glimpse of the brand and where it was going. And we don't have all the answers with High Coast, and we want to get everybody's feedback in terms of where we should go. So if you have any suggestions, what you like, what you don't like, Jason, you've been absolutely fantastic, giving your feedback, and we want to know.
I think one of the coolest things about High Coast in general, and I don't know how many of you, knowing you guys, you've probably already been on their website, but talk about full disclosure. Oh my God. I mean, I don't know if it's still there because I went one time to look for it again and show somebody, but there was one time where I logged on and they were talking about the temperature of the fermentation vats. I mean, it literally lists things you never even thought to ask. So you got to click around a little bit to find it, but poke around on their website. It's pretty amazing.
Well, actually, Brandon, that's actually interesting that you bring that up because we're actually changing the labels. And the obstacle is changing the labels every single time because the information is always going to change. But we're actually going to try to wrap around labels. So the label will be the full thing of basically the full bottle. And we'll have the entire information of temperature of the fermentation, the mash, and each step along the way, and every single detail about that whiskey that came there.
That's awesome.
So we're pretty excited about that to move forward. But that's something that we're striving to do, and we should probably have this coming year in 2022 during OND. So we'll be able to you'll be able to look at a bottle and know every single thing, not just what makes it up, but every step along the range. So it'll be very geeky. So I do apologize for the people that are not geeky, but but it'll be fun.
These guys like geeky.
Yeah, I had a sneaky suspicion there's some geeky people here.
In the best way possible.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
So
I
can
felt like
we
a lot of the
do-
stuff tonight was kind of a blend of, if I took some of the signature flavors from distilleries that we know, a lot of those things, it was like a blend between the two. We were talking about with the 63 with the Kulila and the Lechik, and then Timur for me was was Kulila again, but it was with Port Charlotte, and the Berg for me is straight up Bamor and Buna.
Yeah, listen, I totally agree. It's like Buna in a glass.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't say that because I worked for them, but
but is that Bamor?
It's okay. It's a delicious whiskey. We can talk about it.
It is. It's Buna in a glass, but with a punch, man. Like it's all there. So this is the craziness about High Coast. They're still trying to figure out who they are. But they've been doing it right for so long and been considered one of the best distillers in the world. And they've actually taught me a lot of things to kind of take a step back and, let's listen to everyone. What do they think about the brand? We're not trying to oversell anything. We're not some fancy presentation. It's just about your enjoyment about the whiskey and how we can improve it. So I'm hugely excited that they're in the portfolio and what we're doing to move forward. But thank you everyone for their time and for spending a couple hours with me. So I've been up for almost 24 hours with three tastings. So I do apologize if I wasn't at my best. But I do want to do the whiskey wood seminar whenever you guys want to do that. It's something that I've worked on for almost 6 months to a year to put together. And it's a very in-depth seminar about wood and understanding wood and understanding how wood works with maturation of whiskey and other spirits. So I actually did it for the people that work for the company, and they were like, "You need to share this." I'm like, "Okay." So would love to do a seminar and maybe send you some interesting things that we're working with Kayo that are not released out yet, and get your feedback and kind of talk about wood maturation and actually how to select, like how you actually select a wood barrel, how you select a wood stave when you're actually looking at a tree. How do you know it's actually going to be good? Basically how you want that wood to be bent, if it's by steam or if it's by fire, and different variations, and actually how to create a whiskey and what you're looking for. And sometimes the norm is not the answer. It's kind of more about the journey. So I love to put that on the calendar if that's good for you guys. So Adam, take away. So
I was gonna say, like, that's a phenomenal, such a phenomenal idea of what we could do next. But in the meantime, it's such a rare treat to have someone like Jeff here talking about wood maturation and everything that he does and everything that we do to work with High Coast. So it's a very rare treat to have someone like Jeff with us to talk about all the wonderful things that we do. So Jeff, thanks so much for coming today. Thank you, everyone
I
else.
appreciate listen, Adam, I appreciate you putting this together, and I want High Coast to be a little more organic, but I love to hear from everyone what they thought about the brand and what they think about the brand. And if everybody can be off mute and just be candid, I'd love to get everybody's feedback, what they think.
Yeah, I've already seen a lot of nice notes about Berg. And
well, I'm not actually looking at the chat. Should I just be looking at the chats, Adam? I'm like illiterate with this stuff.
What was what did everybody pick in the poll?
Yeah, so everybody voted for their favorite expression of the night. Jeffrey, what do you think was the favorite expression of the group?
Wow, I would probably say it's between 63 or Berg.
Okay.
Yeah. My personal favorite is 63. What does everyone else have to say?
And the results are Berg by a pretty far margin. 47% voted for Berg and then 20% for Olive and 63.
And look at Hub, the number 6 whiskey in the world didn't get any votes. The Hobnots.
We don't reward losers.
Listen. Hov is amazing. It's amazing whiskey. But I think Berg shows the potential of the brand, and 63 kind of gives you that window of what it can be. So Brandon, so I like Hov is amazing, and the accolades they've gotten has been absolutely amazing. But listen, that was yesterday's news. What are they doing now? And I think Berg is where they are and where they're going.
Yeah.
So I know you want to sell a lot of cases, Brandon. I get that, but it's all about drinking in the future, my friend.
No, I hear you. I got a little piece of ice in this one. I call it an iceberg.
There you go. I love it. I missed you. I missed you.
I'm sending you a virtual hug, my friend.
Yeah, and why you're not here drinking with me is beyond. No, listen, I've invited. So Brandon does not like me. So I've invited Brandon to drink with me on on my cost. So I will fly him to 10 different locations, and he is, declined on every invite. So I'm starting to get a complex.
One of the most interesting invites was for me to blend Japanese whiskey with you in Sweden during the pandemic.
Yes.
While Sweden was going for herd immunity and basically not wearing masks and licking every doorknob they could find.
Yep.
And you invited me there. So isn't it weird that I said no?
Crazy. So I couldn't get to Japan to blend. So I couldn't get anywhere to blend. So the only country, and I couldn't get the samples to the United States. So the only country that I actually could blend in would be Sweden. And I actually invited Brandon to come and blend with me for Kayo. And he gracefully declined. I know Adam would have not declined, and Adam would have been there because he's a true friend. But Brandon, hey.
I promise I will take you up on an invite. I promise.
No, this
So what
gives
is every?
an insight into how much of a bromance these guys have.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
what does everybody think of Hive Coast, and what do you think they're doing well, and what can we improve?
No, what did you guys love about High Coast?
Anna, let's hear from you. You've always got something good to say.
I wrote a lot in the chat.
I know. I just like it because you're never afraid to say what you think.
I thought they were all really well balanced. I like the different flavors that were in there, and the approachability of the peat and how it kind of danced around with some of the fruit and vanilla flavors, but still had a strong enough peat for those of us who like it.
I agree. I like that the peat came through strongly. It didn't just give a little hint of peat. It made no apologies for it. This is a peated whiskey, and I like that.
Yeah. Well, listen, and you have to actually think about where they're located. They're located in Sweden and the Baltics, and the Baltics are known to love peat. So, like the biggest seller there that they have is Lagavulin. And then after that's Ardbeg. So they love their peat, and that's what they think of a whiskey should be. So when they're creating a whiskey, that's kind of was the sense of it. So what I do like is the Hav was kind of a departure of trying to be a little less peat and a little bit flavor, understanding how good their distillation process was. So I think that's why I always said, like, they're trying to figure out who they are. They know who they are in the Swedish market, but they're trying to figure out who they are in the international market. Because I think they actually make the best spirit in the world. And it's not just me, like, the best distillers in Japan and in Scotland and Ireland converged on High Coast because we wanted to learn what they were doing, and wanted to bring that to the forefront to you guys actually to try it, because I don't think they really understand how good they actually really are.
Agreed.
And what was that?
I said agreed.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's they're kind of very humble people, but everybody's actually looking to High Coast for how they're distilling and how they're doing their maturation, and I'm learning every day from them, and excited that they're part of our portfolio, that I can actually work with them. So, and I would love to say I'm the blender for them, but I'm not. But I do work with them quite closely.
Do they happen to make an aquavit aged in these whiskey barrels?
They actually do.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. So next time, where are you located, Jason?
I'm in Michigan. I'm the weird, ugly duckling in this group.
Really?
Yeah, I'm outside.
Hey, listen, you're not ugly. You look like me. You're just happy and plump. Actually, you're much better looking than me. So why don't we do this? So when I'm in, I'll send you a sample of what they're looking for, what they have, and you can actually try it. So, how many people on this call?
A few people jumped off, but I think we're at 18 now.
18. So, how do you get everyone's sample? How do you get everyone's samples? Yeah.
Usually everyone who's local, we distribute locally, and then we ship olive oil and whatnot.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you want to ship something to me, I can make sure that Vadim gets it.
Okay. So why don't I ship some things to you guys, and then I'd love to do a wild tasting with you guys of a bunch of different experiments that we're working on. And I'd love to get, like Anna and Jason, you've been actually fantastic. And I'd love to send you guys some things for you to try and get your feedback on. Jason, if you don't like it, the door's over there. but
Hey, Jeffrey, you know what? I'm actually going to turn things around a little bit just because, Adam made the point, and a very good point, that we're lucky to have somebody like you to present that isn't afraid to speak his mind and give behind the curtain looks. But I will also say that we are very lucky as a supplier and a distributor to have a group like this that actually gives a shit. Because I've been to a lot of tastings with these guys, brands that are mine, brands that aren't mine. I sign up for virtual tastings with Vadim and everybody and check out other brands. And this is an engaged group. It's a group that cares. They ask great questions. I've stayed on an hour after a tasting ended and just heard everybody talk about yeast. I mean, it's a great group, and they're a group that if they like something, they'll go out and purchase it. And so it's also a treat to have a engaged group like this. So, which I am a part of. So I'm actually complimenting myself at the same time. So not that is the first time of that. So
no, that's never happened before.
No.
Nice little subtle package. Just pat yourself on the back, right?
Exactly.
But listen, I actually, to answer your question, well, not yet, Brandon, I was on last time I did a tasting. I think I was on like an hour later, just drinking with everybody and talking. I had a little bit more to say when it was with Kaio, and because that's just my baby. But this group has been, like when I talked to Adam, and Adam's like, well, we need to do this, and this is what people are thinking, and he'll talk to the group. And I don't know actually who he's actually talking to the group, but I know he's quite involved. And I kind of take that to heart, so, and I remember Jason from before. I remember, Adam's a little bit quiet over there with Adam, but, he'll speak his mind. So, but Anna's been fantastic, giving feedback, and other people as well. So listen, we're all here to learn. Whiskey's about the journey and not knowing everything. I don't know everything about whiskey. I don't know everything about blending, even though I've dedicated my entire life to it. And I want to develop different things that people are going to experience and people are going to enjoy. And this is the perfect forum for it. And our biggest brand, our biggest, I will tell you this, our most passionate people that drink our spirit are from California and are from that market. And we need to learn from that market. And listen, I'm not going to say that they might know a lot more things better than me. And I want to learn from them. I'd be foolish not to.
And one guy from Michigan.
One guy from Michigan. Hey, listen.
California and one guy from Michigan.
No. Anna and Adam are in Seattle. Justin is in, where are you, Justin?
Wyoming.
He's in Wyoming. Yeah, we're all over the place here.
Really?
Holy cow.
Yeah, Ian and Michael are in, where are you guys? Ohio? There we go, Ohio. So we're all over the place.
So I will give you an open invitation. So here's the open invitation that I give you guys. So if you guys ever want to come to the great state of New Jersey, okay, you have an open invite to come to my bar. You will drink for free, and you can drink whatever whiskey that's opened, that's at my bar. That's about 6,000 bottles of whiskey. So if anybody wants to come take me up on that, and I do and listen, I don't have any friends. Brandon will tell you.
Again, you have.
I'm not well liked. So, but all seriousness, if anybody wants to come to New Jersey and spend the night, come to my bar, and
Hey now.
you can drink any whiskey that that's open at that's here. So that's my invitation to you guys to come out and from one nerd to another.
Beautiful.
So I do apologize. I'm a little tired. No, I'm a little tired. So been up for almost 24 hours.
Well, I would say, for everyone on the call, it's a very rare treat to have a distiller or master blender on the call, and especially one who's willing to invite you to his house to drink with him. So it's
Well, Adam, you've been here.
oh my gosh, I one of the worst hangovers of my life involved going to Jersey with Jeffrey Karlovitch. So I couldn't consider it more of a privilege than to sell this juice and to work with this guy. And every single time I hear him speak, I learn something new. So it's a really rare treat to be on the call with Jeffrey Karlovitch. So
I want to know what Justin just poured. There you go, baby. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Hey, Vadim,
man.
thank you very much, sir.
Yeah,
Vadim, always great to have the group together. Thank you for having us. I know Jeffrey appreciates it. I know Adam appreciates it, and I appreciate it. So thank you all for attending.
Yeah.
And Vadim, so if you can look at your schedule, maybe like the third week of April or the fourth week of April, and I'd love to do a wood seminar for the group. And I'll send a bunch of different samples of what we're working on for everyone to try.
Sounds good. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for spending the evening with us. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you so much, man.
thanks, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Good evening.